The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is a massive open-world action RPG role-playing game released in May of 2015. This game was hyped to all hell, and rightly so. It is an amazing game with an amazing story, awesome simple gameplay, breathtaking visuals, and beautiful music. Now don't worry, even though this game is the third in its respective franchise, it's not hard to become invested and understand everything that is happening. The game does a good job of telling you what is happening without overloading you with loads and loads of information. And honestly, I've barely played the previous Witcher games as well. I wasn't too into the gameplay of Witcher 1, which was, horrible, and my crappy PC couldn't run Witcher 2, so this is my first real experience into the world of The Witcher, and I hope I can explain why I love it. So, without any further ado, let's dive into what is arguably the most important part of this game, the story. The Witcher is originally a bunch of short stories by Polish author Andrzej Sapkowski. These got so popular that they were eventually translated into English and made into full-length novels. In 2008, Polish developer CD Projekt Red created a video game based on the novels by Mr. Sapkowski. These games were sequels to the books, and in large part had a different story, just similar characters. The Witcher 3 is the conclusion of main character Geralt of Rivia. He is a Witcher. A Witcher is someone who hunts monsters for a living, and at the beginning of the game he is searching for his long-time love interest, if you can call it that, Yennefer of Vengerberg. Eventually, after doing some monster contracts for the nearby village of White Orchard, he becomes relatively known and attracts the attention of Yennefer, who finds him instead of finding her. After a brief reunion, it's revealed that Geralt's adopted daughter, Ciri, the other main playable character in the game, has returned after being in hiding for many years. Why was she in hiding? Well, she is blessed or cursed, depending on how you look at it, with Elder Blood, someone who has immense power. She has abilities like being super fast, amazing with magic powers, and being insanely strong. The curse here is that if one drinks a potion of out of Elder Blood, well, you wouldn't want to know what happens. Yet they never explain it. So everyone wants to get her, yet the main guys who are after her are the Wild Hunt. The Wild Hunt is a group of spectres, or undead, led by the king of the Wild Hunt, Eredin, who is an ancient elf who... He's bad, okay? He's just bad. And the Wild Hunt is considered to be an omen of misfortune and death. It is said to appear mainly, but not exclusively, during the winter. Geralt and Yennefer are hired by the Emperor of the Kingdom to find Ciri, because Ciri is his biological daughter, and bring her to him. The story isn't too hard to follow, I don't think so. But I think the main issue with the story is its length. It has an estimated 50 hours running time. It's quite hard to keep invested in a story for that long. And if you aren't willing to... It's not a game you can sit down and play for a couple of bit. You have to play in long periods of time. And you got to deal with that issue. The story is quite predictable in some points. For example, you go to one area hoping to find Ciri, she isn't there. And you obtain a lead to the next place she went, you get there and whoops, she just left. And it can get quite annoying. The story does have its twists and turns, and there are a few instances where you'll be shocked at what happened. Also interesting is the fact that side quests are considered as important or more important than main quests. A good example was when I saved a woman from certain death very early on in the game, and this was completely optional. About 40 hours later, I found her again, and she was thanking me and hugging me, saying, "Thank you, please, you saved my life." And and she gave me an item to help me with the main quest, which on other ways you got to find this object through other means. Well, it's just an easy way of getting this. So a choice I made very early on in the game helped me later on. So that's pretty awesome. Most decisions you make in the game will have long-lasting consequences, and they will gradually shape the world around you for better or for worse. When certain people die, the effect that effect of the death is felt entirely through the virtual world, and it makes everything you do seem that much more important, and everything concludes in a way that is satisfying and will make you really, really sad that it's over. Because there's like so many different endings and conclusions to everyone's story that if you get the bad ending, it's really, 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 really sad. And if you get the good ending, you're like, yay! But you know, I was sad it was over because an amazing 50-hour long story that I was really invested into ended. And I mean, I put so much time into it, but yeah. So we're going to move on to our next topic, the gameplay, which, yeah. For the most part, everything runs smoothly through the game. Geralt's movement is very responsive to your controller inputs and does everything you tell him to do. An issue I usually have, though, is that every button on the controller has at least 2 uses. On the PS4, running is used with the X button, but the X button also allows you to pick up items. This can be particularly annoying if you're running through and it's annoying. On the other hand, L2 activates Witcher Sense, which enhances Geralt's senses to allow him to notice or see things that a normal person wouldn't. L2 is also the block button in combat. It can take some time to get used to this issue, but it's not, overly annoying. The biggest issue I have with the gameplay is the horse. Since the map is gigantic, over 3.5 times the size of Skyrim, it would take you forever and a day to get anywhere. So using horses and occasionally sailing over lakes and oceans can get you to places. In simple terms, I like to relate the movement of the horse to that of an aircraft carrier. The horse just keeps running into things and stopping for no reason, and it can get quite frustrating. Luckily, sailing isn't too bad, and you can leave your boat at any point to go deep sea diving, although there's nothing interesting down there and you can drown and it sucks, and yada yada yada. The combat is amazingly simple though, and the combat is the thing you'll be doing the most of your time throughout this game. You press one button for heavy attacks and one button for light attacks. You have to pick which sword is the correct sword to use during combat, because a Witcher has 2 swords for different occasions. A steel sword is for humans and animals, and a silver sword is for monsters. Use the wrong sword for the wrong enemy type, and it's basically just like cutting a steak with a butter knife. It does nothing. As you can see in the gameplay here, I break the game because since this thing, it's a siren, it doesn't land, so you're supposed to make it land with the crossbow, but I kind of glitched it out and it just doesn't land. So I keep firing at the crossbow, and I managed to drop it down to, a quite low amount of health. And I just break the game. Although I do get to take him out manually with my sword. Mixed in with your sword attacks, you have access to the crossbow, as you can see in this gameplay. And it's good for knocking down flying enemies, which, isn't really an issue until mid-game, where you have harpies and sirens, and you encounter dragons and see these on the ground now. Woo! And then you also get access to signs. Signs are basically Witcher magic, and there are about 5 of them. And they all have their advantages and disadvantages. There's Yrden, a magical trap that is useful against undead and magical-based beings. Axii, mind control basically, and it's used to temporarily stun an opponent, which is wave their hand in front of their victims, and it works like a Jedi mind trick. Odd, basically a force push from the Star Wars universe. It's good for knocking down enemies and throwing big enemies off balance, like giants and stuff like that. Igni, the ability to shoot fire. It's useful against ice monsters and heavily armed enemies because it can burn them up from the inside out. And Quen, which is what I used in this gameplay. using all these abilities and equipment together add a good amount of strategy to the game, which you need to use to get anywhere. In this right here, you've got the bestiary, which shows you what the monsters are, and each monster down the bottom, it says vulnerable against. You need to read those, and they can give you an edge against the enemies in the game. You don't have to use them, but it's recommended, and they can make fights so much easier, and especially for boss fights like larger monsters. In this gameplay here, you can see those things are rot fiends. They are when you get them to a low amount of health, their blood like curdles or something, I don't know, and they eventually explode, dealing you large amounts of damage. So you need to back away from them. Each monster has its own technique to fighting them. So as we go into here, we can see a troll. Trolls, this is a rock troll, and he doesn't take that much. Well, as you can see, I'm hitting for 600s, but fire spell doesn't do anything against him. So if we use Quen, we're going to hit him a few times, and if he hits us back, he'll get a blast of. He'll get knocked back from our upgraded Quen. So in the corner, you can see I have two potions: Thunderbolt and Swallow. Swallow heals you with the red bar up in the corner, and you can only use those two pre-equipped potions in battle. You cannot go into the inventory and eat food and other potions that aren't in your hotbar during battle, because they had to balance it somehow. So that's how you do that. And Thunderbolt allows you to. It adds 1.5 times damage to your overall damage. So using potions and other equipment will allow you to get a. Geralt is a very sarcastic person, and he distances himself emotionally from most of things, and he's very neutral on most decisions. Him and Yennefer get along very well. And the characters in this game are very well thought out and have great lines of dialogue, and the writing is just amazing. And I'm going to show you a couple of scenes here to prove that these two just get along so well, because these are the two main characters in this game. So in this first scene, we're hunting down a werewolf, and yeah, just watch.
To transform into a werewolf. It's a dog's life, huh?
Well, there's not a youth out there who doesn't have a wolf in his belly.
Didn't the curse confine him to this garden? Couldn't really cut his wolf loose.
No question he was top dog here.
Just wolfing things down, or not.
Geralt, that's enough.
Fine. Still had a few good ones at the tip of my tongue.
I'm sure you did. We'll say you won.
And in this next scene, well, Yennefer's just mad at Geralt.
God damn it, you piece of shit! Damned crystal!
You decide to blow us up?
Geralt, I'm in no mood for jests, especially dull ones.
Need to blow off steam? Go ahead, just not on me. Find some other target. I don't know, throw another bed off the balcony.
Ha ha ha. So it's to be dull jokes after all.
Rather have a serious conversation? We can do that if you prefer. I mean, what got into you? That determined to make Vesemir your enemy?
No. I was determined not to sleep in the bed in which you swived Triss. Repeatedly. You know what? We should end this discussion before I say something I'll regret.
But I'd love to hear what you have to say.
Is that so? Very well then. Listen, you shagged my friend for upwards of a year. I cannot know what your witch's code says on the matter, but ordinary folk would consider it obscene, base, vile. I try not to think about it. That stupid bed was making it difficult. That's that.
Yen, told you already, I lost my memory.
And I've lost my patience.
He's really not in the mood.
Ah, Geralt. Anything you'd like to say?
The view from there, spectacular.
Perhaps I should have teleported you 2 miles higher. Breathtaking, that view. To die for, really.
Fine. What do I do?
Firstly, help Eskel and Lambert.
I'm just under the impression that those two are just perfect for each other. So yeah, the dialogue is really good. And the characters are pretty well written. The soundtrack is amazing. Throughout the video I have been playing a couple of my favourite tracks throughout the game, and they fit the theme of the game perfectly. They belong inside an action fantasy RPG, which is what The Witcher 3 Wild Hunt is. I will show you a couple of examples. So this is the battle music. Well, that's just one of them anyway. There's a few battle musics, but there's also the music ramps up to feel like to make it feel like you are in combat, or when you're walking through a town, you can hear ambient music with people talking and like dogs barking, and it's really cool. Or when you go into an inn, you hear this. Or when you're wandering the countryside, you can hear birds and the wind howling. And at night time, you can hear wolves howling or the snarling of monsters. All of this adds to the immersive experience the game offers. The minor issue I have is with the game's music occasionally is that the music can be a bit too loud and will drown out the dialogue during cutscenes or random idle chatter during the street time or when you're walking through the streets. But it's easily fixed by turning down the music in the options menu. My particular favourite theme in this game is the one you heard at the beginning of this review called Sword of Destiny, and it plays during like high tension moments, and it's basically the main theme of this song because it starts off pretty slow but gets really good later on. So I'll give you a look at it from later on in the song. And now we're going to have a look at the graphics, because that's like amazing. Now, even though the graphics will obviously look better on the PC version, the PS4 version still looks like, oh my god, amazing. But here's some screenshots, and I'll just show you the graphics in these screenshots. those screenshots are all captured off my PS4 and they look really good. But as you can see on the screen right now, the graphics are in this like foggy forest, destroyed forest area look amazing. And yeah, light is blinding if you look at it in the game. Like the sun will like shine on screen, you can't see anything. The shadows work in a realistic way. The water flows, and believe me, water flowing in the game is like amazing, and just everything looks beautiful. The only issue I have with it is like the PS4 version has a slight pop-in, which means like objects will appear out of nowhere instead of rendering just out of sight. But you know, it's not a big deal. You can live with it. So, in conclusion, I think The Witcher 3 is an amazing game, and there's so much to explain. I couldn't fit it. There's just so much to explain in this game, and it's so complicated yet so easy to understand in a complicated way. Yeah, sure, why not? And you don't need the previous games to get into it. And I reckon if you watch a couple of videos on YouTube of it, you'd get into it pretty easily. So this has been Ethan. This is my first review. It probably sucks, but yeah. I hope you have a good day, everybody. See ya.
Magic residue trail leads to Velen.
Any chance you can figure out where Ciri's companion fled to? His portal's gotta be nearby.
I'll try to find it. Come.
Damn, you're ugly.
Well, ready?
Nice fight.
One repelled the other with powerful magic, then fled through a portal.
A mage?
Most likely.